Hi, everybody. I'm Nate Eaton with EastIdahoNews.com, chatting with Keith Morrison, who has spent the past few months working on an update to the JJ and Tylee missing children's case. We are speaking via Zoom. Keith, a lot of people are anxious to see just what will be on this show this coming Friday.
Well, yeah, I'm only too happy to be able to put a program on the air, and it's in large part thanks to you, Nate, that we're doing this. You have been an integral part of the process. But as you know as well, there's some talented people, whole cadre of them, who've been trying to put together the material and following this story as closely as we can. It's a shocking story. It's a remarkable story. We just keep on following it, as you do.
Yeah, so last time Dateline covered this, it was Valentine's Day. Lori had not been arrested. Chad and Lori were still in Hawaii. And a lot has changed since then. They've obviously been back to Idaho, and Lori's in jail. The Attorney General is investigating both Chad and Lori for possible involvement with Tammy's death, Chad's first wife. I would say, though, there's been a few other developments. What can people expect when they watch on Friday night, Keith?
Well, I think what we want to do essentially is get everybody brought up to date, not only on Lori and Chad and what may or may not have happened to children, but there are all these people who surround them who appear to be part of this group. I'm not sure exactly what we could call it, which is so deeply invested in some pretty extreme beliefs that are, far outside the normal confines of the Church of Latter-day Saints. When you hear people talk seriously about evil spirits inhabiting their spouses or members of their families, or about people becoming zombies and needing to be eliminated, this gets into pretty serious stuff. And those are the kinds of materials that we have found ourselves, along with you, dealing with over this period of time.
One of the big interesting things I know coming up on the show is you got the first interview with Lori's niece, Melani, and her husband, Ian Pawlowski. Melani was married to Brandon, who was shot at in Arizona by, we believe...
Have you got your scorecard out?
Yeah, I know. We should draw it all out. But she was probably one of Lori's best friends. She was with Lori during all of this. How was that interview? It was for several hours, and what was that like?
Well, Melanie essentially wanted to present, or appeared to want to present, the idea that all fine leaving here. I don't know of any problems whatsoever. We were all just doing our own thing, and anything that seemed suspicious was merely coincidence. And she's a kind of a sweet, very attractive young woman who looks at you with big eyes and says it's absolutely the truth. So the viewer is going to look at it and see what they think. But she was one of the group of people who, soon after she and the rest of the group kind of moved up to Rexburg and moved into the development right around Lori. She was one of those who immediately, having left her spouse, got married to another one. And the man she got married to, Ian, we're trying to figure out exactly where Ian fits into all of this. But at one point, Ian was cooperating with the FBI and was wearing a wire. Now he isn't anymore. And the question on my mind, which we'll be sorting out a little bit, is where does he fit in this whole panoply of people?
Yeah, that I think for the viewers at home, that's something you're going to want to see if you've been following this story, that interview and what they have to say. It's a 2-hour special, Friday night on NBC. Here in Idaho, it will begin at 8 o'clock, but in other parts of the country, it begins at 9 on the East and the West Coast. Mm-hmm. Keith, you were here when Lori appeared for her first hearing in Madison County. There were hundreds of people at the courthouse that came just to watch that 10-minute hearing. What were your thoughts when you were able to see just the public interest in this case?
Well, I've seen public interest in cases before, but this really was far more than anything I'd seen for a very long time, since maybe the Michael Jackson case or O.J. Simpson. Just the entire area around the courthouse was jammed with people who were all there to kind of see the comings and goings and were fascinated by the details of the story, many of which they seem to know better than you'd expect them to. It's a complicated story. I assume that level of interest is probably continuing. In spite of the coronavirus, it's something people seem to be keeping up with. But the question now is whether anybody will be able to be around the courthouse for the next period.
Yeah, she has a bond hearing on Friday, and we're still waiting to hear how that will go. And then the preliminary hearing scheduled for next week, that could be delayed. I would say people might be following this even more so now with the coronavirus because there's not a lot of other news. So Friday show, I imagine a lot of people will be glued to it. I've seen a promo for the show, and one of the taglines is "An investigation like no other."
It truly is. And I thank you again for being a part of it. But it's just an amazing thing to follow as we have gradually, as the bits and pieces have fallen into place in this story. And it continues to shock me.
That was going to be my next question. You've been doing this a long time, Keith, and sometimes once you've covered so many stories, nothing really shocks a journalist anymore. But are you finding this to be different?
Well, when children are involved, people are capable of remarkable inhumanity to each other. But, what happened to those kids? It really is kind of at the heart of this thing. The other suspicious deaths are also shocking, but they're in a different kind of ballpark somehow.
Yeah. Well, I have you. I did want to say, I just saw the news this morning that your podcast, The Thing About Pam, has been nominated for an award. Tell me about that.
Well, the Webby Awards, it came as a total surprise to me. I had no idea. I don't even know what those awards are until today. Apparently, it's something people can vote on. I hope if any of your subscribers have not listened to The Thing About Pam, I invite them to do so. It was fun to do. We partnered with a production company that specializes in these things, and we are doing more such projects. But the thing about Pam was that particular story has been one we followed in a similar way to this one. Started at the beginning, and we just kept doing it until we have now got probably another chapter left in that crazy story.
It is a crazy story. You've got to go listen to it or watch it. I went back and watched it, and I mean, at one point, this woman acts like she's a Dateline producer. You guys become part of the story.
Yeah, that was curious, to say the least.
Yes. All right. Well, Keith, thank you so much for chatting with us again. Dateline NBC, Friday night on NBC. An update to the Where Are the Children special. Have you come up with a title for this follow-up?
You know, Nate, I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but titles are not part of my job or even the job of the producers, and we are often as surprised as everybody else by what they have chosen to call particular programs. I'm not sure what the title of it is.
All right.
Certainly, it's far more than just an update. This is a whole lot of new things that have gone on here.
Yeah, 2 hours. So set your DVRs, actually watch it live because you really can't leave the house and go to the movies or anything.
Right.
And we'll see what happens as this case continues to unfold. Keith, thanks so much.
Looking forward to talking to you soon, Nate.